Hey, in this video we're going to go over how to install the handle assembly, and the first thing to decide is what type of fishing rod you're going to build, either spinning or casting. And then from there you have a couple of options, one being material. By far the two most popular is either cork or EVA, and then you have to decide on the rear grip, full or a split rear grip. And that's pretty much it for the options.
Right, so once you've made the decisions, there's a couple key pieces of equipment that you need to get the job done. The first being a reamer. The reamer is actually going to increase the diameter of those grips so they can be mounted on the rod blank. The second being a form of epoxy. We've got some two-part pro-paste rod epoxy here. We need something to mix the epoxy on and a couple of stir sticks and you're ready to go.
Well, let's build a handle assembly.
Let's go. So the first step to building our handle is going to be to lay out our components. So what we'll want to do is actually make a mark on our rod blank where each individual component ends. This is essentially creating a roadmap for us to use later on when we're ready to install the rear grip, the reel seat, and the foregrip. For a full grip portion, we're going to make a mark at the top of our rear grip, the top of our reel seat, and the top of our foregrip. For a split grip section, we'll be making a mark at the top of our fighting butt, at the rear of our rear grip, the back of the reel seat, the front of the reel seat, and the front of the foregrip.
If you remember earlier, we marked kind of a roadmap of where our rear grip and reel seat and foregrip goes. So the rear grip, we have to get the top of this grip to that mark. And one of the first things you want to do is just see where you are and how much cork you have to remove. So the only way to really do that is just kind of slide it down, and that's about as far as it can comfortably go. You never want to force cork down the taper of the rod blank. The material is a natural material. It'll actually split. So you don't want to force it down. So we got a little bit more reaming to do, a little bit more cork material to take out. So to take our grit reamer, and you always want to start at the back end to simulate the taper of the rod blank. And you just do a little at a time. The one thing you don't want to do is, over ream. It's a little harder to recover from. So just, kind of like, measure off and cut once. This is just ream often and keep fitting until you get it right. And you also want to tap out the dust so that you don't have dust mixing with the epoxy. So we'll just take another measurement here, and that should probably do it. It's getting just snug at the end, and that's what you want until you can barely fit it down. And now we're at the end of that mark, so we're ready to go on to the next stage, which is epoxying the rear grip.
When you're ready to mount your components of your handle to your rod blank, we recommend using pro-paste two-part epoxy. Pro-paste is specifically designed for rod builders and the construction of rod handles. What you need is an equal part of the resin and the hardener, which we've already taken the time to lay out on our dish here. Once we're ready to start mixing, simply fold both components together, stirring and changing directions every so often until you have a uniform color. After mixing thoroughly, you're ready to apply to your rod blank and start mounting your handle.
Okay, so now we're ready to actually epoxy the rear cork grip to the rod blank. We've already made sure that it fits properly, so we've already got the epoxy mixed up, and we already have the line to know where exactly we need to start the epoxy line. So all we have to do is take your pro-paste, and you can go right up to the line that we marked for the top of the rear grip. And you just want to make sure you coat the entire rod blank. You don't have to go all the way down because as we push the handle down it'll get it, but if you want to go all the way down that's fine too. And then remember, put the tenon down first, and as you slide it down, once you get to the paste you want to start going a little slower, and you want to just make sure you turn it and make sure all the pro-paste epoxy is getting into the crevices of the cork. And you bring it right to the end there. Now there's just a little bit of glue left over, but we still have the butt cap to put on. And if there's a lot over here, you can actually just put the butt cap on, but because there's just a little bit, we're going to put a little bit of the pro-paste inside, and you want to get it around the interior walls of the butt cap. And then just slide that into place. Make sure you have a good seal. Make sure the rod blank is touching the butt cap, and there you go. Now, as you push it down, you don't have a lot of glue here, but if you did have some extra glue, all you need to do is get a little paper towel. You can just take a little isopropyl alcohol and just clean that up. And just inspect it, make sure you're good to go. If you have a little glue in between the butt cap and handle, you can get rid of it at this time, but once you're ready to go, we can move on to the reel seat. So quick word on reamers, and there's basically two kinds that you'll encounter. One is the extreme reamer, and the other being the grit reamer. Now, although they have their place, they will work on the MHX wind grips, the carbon fiber grips, EVA, and Cork. With the extreme reamer, it's kind of your starting point. They're tapered to mimic the rod blank taper, and they're really used to move a lot of material quickly, right? So you just get in there and you go from one size and get larger the more material you have to take out. To save some time and fatigue, you can also chuck it up to a power drill, and that'll make quick work of it. Where the extreme reamer excels is going back in and doing some fine finishing on your reaming. So you notice I'm not forcing it in because that'll just peel the grit off. So you want to go in and just take out the inside material. A lot of times when you're working with full length, the outside ends will not be touching the blank, but the grip actually still won't fit. That's when you want to get the grit reamer and just take some of those knuckles out and, you know, do a little, make sure you tap out the inside, and then once you get a fit, you're ready to epoxy.